everyone, so we are heading to BBC Radio this morning. I've got my little gang in tow. Say hi. I'm going to be chatting to Trish at BBC Cobham Warwick, and I'm going to be heading over to BBC West Midlands after that. See you later. Here we are now at the BBC, and I've got the girls, and here's Dan bringing me my cup of tea. I'm just vlogging Dan.
Much needed cup of coffee.
Thanks, pal.
There you go, enjoy.
Texas. And this is Texas with me as well. Say hi, Tex.
Hi.
A little drink. And there's Brooke saying, "You're not getting me in." What a show, Paulie. And we're going to be chatting to Trish this morning and show you again what you're doing. And then we're heading over to BBC West Midlands as well. So make sure to tune in. If you haven't, you can watch it on the catch-up, which I'll pop below as well. So I am currently in the studio now, just waiting for a call from BBC West Midlands. This is what goes on. They've left me alone and said it's all just going to work itself and I don't have to do anything. Let's hope that's the case. I feel like I'm in like a cell. I'm about to be interviewed because I've killed someone or something. Too many police detective shows, I think. Good morning to you. Okay, I'm okay. Yeah, that's about. I'm good sometimes, but I think I'm appropriately okay. Yeah, of course, and it's not continuously bad, but obviously there's going to be lots of firsts and lots of moments when it's hard, but yeah, we're doing okay as a family. I'd imagine so, and I think as we're just going through each stage, we're just trying to look at it not too far in front. I mean, we were luckier in some ways that we were aware that Ross was ill. It wasn't a sudden thing as such, but it still felt quite quick for us as a family because although he'd been ill for 4 years, he hadn't been sick as such, and it was quite quick in the end. So it's all new, it's all a learning curve, but we're just trying to, we're just trying to let it be, just trying to grieve and to cry when we want to cry and laugh when we want to laugh. When Ross was first diagnosed, he'd had headaches, and I can remember the moment vividly when we were told and the doctor came in and very quickly said he had a brain tumour, it was the size of an egg, and he very quickly ran through the options. Potentially we'll do chemo, radio, if we can't do anything we'll just keep you comfortable. It was as quick as that, like he ran through them and we just, our jaws nearly hit the floor. And I looked at Ross and he just went, okay, what's next? And Ross dealt with that at every stage in that same way, and as a family we've all just dealt with it. What's next? Okay. And I think that's the hardest thing right now, is that, and I said this to his mum yesterday, there's nothing next right now. It's us now alone, and we have to work out what's next for us, but there's no next for Ross, and that's difficult, and that's a new shift. Yes, I guess so. I mean, I've been an actress since I was 11. I do my YouTube channel, Holly Matthews Online, and I do that anyway, so it's not a complete shift. However, I sort of felt like I stopped doing it when Ross was first beginning to get ill, and I think there's a level for me, I'm such an open book that I'd just rather get it out there, and I feel like always there should be some learning from an experience that we have as human beings, and death connects all of us and we all feel it, but yet it's often the taboo that we don't discuss. And so I thought, you know what, if I'm going to walk, I'm not just going to talk my talk, I'm going to walk my walk. I talk about positivity and positive mindset and all of this stuff on a daily basis. If I'm going to be real about this, and I need to put out there what's happening, and that means the warts and all, that means something, the crying, the awful stuff, the tough times. But when I put it out there, I know, because of the hundreds and hundreds of messages that I get, that other people going through a similar thing can connect and can get something from that. And if you don't, then that's totally fine, and choose to completely ignore what I'm saying. But I think we're so often scared to discuss death, and a good death. And somebody, I think it was a charity, Dying Matters, talk about the end of life stuff. You know, we plan a birth, but if we've got the option and we have the opportunity to plan our own deaths, if that's an option, and it's not exactly a nice conversation, but none of it was nice, you know, like I can't pretend that any of it was nice, but we had to find a way to make it the best it could be. And I think talking about it is cathartic for me. I do find it easier to put it out there. That's just my personality. I totally get that is not for everybody, and some people may see that as distasteful, but it works for me. It's how I've done everything my whole life, in being that open, and it's a way to get it out. It doesn't keep it in, you know, festering inside. It's just out there. Yeah, I mean, the biggest conversations really were in the August of last year when he was having his second surgery. So Ross was fully aware neurologically, then he was absolutely fine. So we had big conversations with the surgeons, and Ross asked how he would die, what the process would be, you know, how his body would shut down. He wanted to know everything, and he planned a lot of that in his mind in the best way that he could. And he had full acceptance when he was told that the likelihood is that with brain cancer nearing the end that you tend to just get very sleepy, and then the doctors give medicine to make sure you're pain free and you just go to sleep. And that is what happened with Ross, and I think he was comfortable with that. We had very, very hard conversations, and then obviously when we knew that it was the end, we had very, very, very hard conversations with our two daughters who are 6 and 4, and that was extremely difficult. And yeah. Yeah. Well, it was extremely difficult, and again, you know, it took a lot. And I got some advice from Jeff Brazier, who was Jade Goody's ex-partner, who had 2 young boys when Jade died at the time, and he phoned me, and we discussed sort of what was the best way, and he agreed with me that, you know, just being honest with children is the best way. We don't give them enough credit. Children are far more resilient than us as adults. They live much more in the now than we do as adults. And so I knew it was the decision to make, to have that discussion with Ross being there, and Ross being there as in not just as a body, but I mean as in his mind was still there. As he was deteriorating because of the tumour growing, that wasn't an option. And when we told the girls at the hospital, we were at Walsgrave Hospital, when we told them, he was still aware. Within a week of that, he wasn't as aware at all, and it would have been inappropriate for him to discuss that with the girls. He wouldn't have reacted in a way that would have been comforting towards them, but when we did it, he was able to cuddle them. And yeah, the girls were heartbroken, but because we stayed open to the conversation, and at every stage when he went to the hospice, Brooke asked me, will he die here? And I said yes. And will he be coming home? No. When I spoke to Brooke, who's obviously the older one and would lead that conversation, the 2 days before he died, I said to her, she said, Mum, I really want you to come home. And I said, I know, darling, but at the moment Daddy needs me here, because I was at the hospice solidly for a month, living there. And she then said to me, I really want you to come home, but I know what that means, that when you come home, Daddy's died, hasn't he? And that, I mean, that breaks my heart. That broke my heart. And we cried together. And then when I did come home, they knew. So without me even having to really tell them, they knew already. And we cried, and, you know, children being children, 10 minutes later, they were playing. And I know that I think they help. Yeah, I think they help each other. I think they really did. And Texas, for Texas, it's hard to really process that this is forever, but she understands. And she said to me, I mean, the first thing she said was, I thought we had longer, Mummy. And I said, so I wanted longer, darling, as well. And you know, that it's really heartbreaking. But children are very, very open, and I've discussed everything with the girls. So you know, Brooke wants to know every detail, and so that's hard for adults. It's actually harder on us as adults, because we don't want to have that conversation, and I'm having conversations that I'd rather avoid.